Hello everyone, welcome back to another part of my Automate Cryptocurrency Monitoring with UI.Vision series. In our last video, we saw how our macro could read a file that contains the coins we are interested in and the buy price. We then calculate the percentage gain and loss by capturing the current sell price. And today we're going to learn how to email that information out to ourselves. So the first thing we need to do is to make sure we have X modules set up. And once we have X modules set up, make sure we take note of where the home folder is, because this is where our input and output files are going to be located. If you haven't got UI.Vision X modules installed, it's quite easy. Just go to the UI.Vision website, click on the Install X modules, download the installer, depends on your version, and just go with the flow. Next, we need to move the macro that we have been creating so far by exporting it to a CoinSpot zip file, as you can see there. And once it has been exported, we need to change the storage mode to file system. And then we can now go and import that macro that we just exported back into this new location. Now, if you've already started doing this and you have already been creating your macro in the file system in the storage mode here, you can skip this part. But just let's make sure that we all are at the same page. We go to the folder and make sure that our macro has been imported successfully, and make sure that the coin.csv file is there. And if you have both the macro and the coin.csv file in their respective locations, then we are good to continue with the next part of the video. As you can see here, we have started running the macro. And the whole reason we want to do this is so that we can generate the output file, the coin output CSV file. Okay, so macro has finished running. And if we now go back to the folder on our hard disk, we'll see the output file with all the percentages of gain and losses. And this is the file that we want to actually send back to ourselves through email. And to do that, we are going to use a tool called Node-RED. And if you have set Node-RED set up, we can essentially just enter a URL like this, and Node-RED will run in the backend. And when you see this screen, Node-RED would have sent that email out to myself. So let's do a check with my email. So once I log in, okay, and we'll see an email has just arrived. If I just double click that email, you would see that there is an attachment of that coin output CSV file, which I can then download. And once I downloaded it, I can then open it. Right, and you will also see that once the file has been emailed, Node-RED will delete that output file. So let's just spend some time to see how we can set up this Node-RED piece of the solution. So Node-RED is a little program that runs on our computer. It listens at port 1880. And you can see that how Node-RED works is that it works by having these flows. Now I've configured this send latest crypto alert flow, and I'm going to share it with you, which you can just download and import. Now let's go through what this flow does. So the first thing that it does is that it waits for a command. And the command is send crypto alert, as you can see there. So it's waiting there. Yeah, so it's waiting for this command to be called. And once this command is called, it will then start the flow. And the first step in the flow is to read the coin output file. And you can see this is where we point the flow to read the file from our hard disk. We then set up some email information, like for example, the subject of the email, the file that we are attaching, and the name of the file. And then all we do is then send it out. As you can see here, I'm sending it to Steven at stevensckwong.com. I'm using my own email server, but in your case, you would likely be using a Gmail server if you do not have your own email server. So we need to provide essentially some details on the mail server that we're going to use to send out the email. Okay, now while the email is going out, we put a slight delay of 5 seconds, because what happens is after we send out the email, we want to delete the coin output CSV file, so that the next time we run the macro, it starts again from fresh. And then we just format a response, and that's the response that we see when the macro has when the flow has completed. So to install and set up Node-RED, it's quite easy. We just need to follow instructions. Let's just go to noderet.org. And once you're there, click on the Get Started button. Running locally. And over here, you'll see a lot of step-by-step guide to actually get Node-RED installed on your computer. It's really quite straightforward, but if you do need help, do send me an email. Once you have Node-RED set up, this is how it would look like. You're going to have Node-RED accessible at localhost port 180, and you'll see on the left-hand side a list of palettes. But what you're seeing there, the social palette, is something that we need to install in when we start using Node-RED. Okay, and to do that, we go to the Manage Palette, click on the Install tab, search for email, and you will see Node-RED Node email. Okay, here it is installed because I've installed it, but in your case, it should have an install button which you can click. And by the end of that process, you should get these three additional components that you can use in your flow. So next, we want to go to my repository on GitHub, which you can download the Node-RED flow that I've already crafted. So go to that URL that you see there on the screen. And once you're there, navigate into CoinSpot tutorial, part 5, and there is a flows.json file. Open that up, right click on the raw button and save that file. Okay, so what this will do is this will download that Node-RED flow that I've already created for you, so that you don't have to build it from scratch. Okay, so once you get that, go back to Node-RED, do an import, and import that flows file um, into Node-RED. Okay, and once imported, you'll see a new tab, and you'll see that flow there all ready for you to use. But of course, there's still some tweaking that you need to do and to reflect this flow in your environment. And the first thing we need to do is to change the path to the coin output folder. So in this case, it's pointing to my uh, folder on my PC, but you need to change this to point to your own folder, okay, where that coin output file is stored. And last but not least, you need to provide the address that you want to send the file to, the email address, and then the server where you can send that. We're going to use to send out that email. Now, for that server, if you're using Gmail, it's actually quite simple. Just search for SMTP for Gmail, and you'll get the information that you need. So the Gmail SMTP server address is, as you can see there, smtpgmail.com. Your username is your Gmail address. Okay, so come here. Say you want to send to Steven@stevenck1.com, or you want to send back to your own email. All right, so enter the server. Port is 465, as you can see there. And the user ID would be your Gmail email address and the password you use to access that Gmail email. So you're going to use Gmail to send that email back to yourself with the attachment of the coin output file. Once you have done that setting, just click deploy, and now Node-RED has been deployed with the latest version of the flow with all the relevant information. And if you were to run localhost colon 1880 send crypto alert, that Node-RED flow will be executed. Now there's only one more thing to do, which is to copy that URL, go back to our macro, and what we'll do is at the end of the macro run to add one final command, which is to call Node-RED with that URL. Okay, so we put that URL there, the one that we just copied. And we save that macro. So now, when our macro runs, the last step, once after it captures all the information, it calculates all the percentage gain and loss. The last step is it will send an email out to ourselves. And that's it, folks. So we covered quite a lot today. We saw how we need to move our macro to our local hard drive with UI.Vision X modules. And then we saw how we can use Node-RED to send that email back to ourselves. And then we added that last command in our macro to trigger Node-RED to send that email out. And with that, we come to the end of our series. But just to recap, and let's start again from the beginning, what we actually set out to do. We wanted an automated solution to monitor the cryptocurrency prices. And we use CoinSpot as an exchange for this demo. And we've built a macro that reads a list of coin and their purchase prices, get the latest sell price, calculate the percentage gain and loss, and email that back to ourselves. I hope you have had as much fun in learning this to build this macro, as much fun as I have had in creating it. So, and if you found this video series helpful, please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more automation videos in the future. Till the next time, thank you very much for watching and have a great day ahead.